Hey there, grant writing unicorns. Today took a bit of a plot twist turn. So Rose and I just met. I'm in Alaska. It's 8:15 p.m. and it turns out 4:15 in the morning in Morocco. I did not realize I got the time zone difference wrong. And we were trying to film for you this brand new writing training we put together. Really excited about it. But it just was not happening. It took me like 13 bloopers to just get out the introduction welcoming you. And then, she has a cold and we've had to stop and had some coughing breaks and just muscling through it. And if there's anything I've learned from this year, courtesy for sure of living through that gas leak explosion and just everything that's happened. This is the first year it feels like in my whole life where I've started to pay attention to like when do things start coming to us with ease and when are we strangling it and forcing it and being very constricted and tight? And do we need to be that way? And the answer is no. And not to say I don't get it right all the time. I was kind of a hot mess today, I'm going to be honest. I went to a gym class to try to like give me some self-care. And I was in such a freaking bad mood. I left class, couldn't even get through the hour, came home and went to bed. Like, it happens, okay? Not, like, this is the most, like, human. This is, like, so human for us to just be like, we didn't do it. We couldn't pull it off. So instead, this is what we're going to do. We actually had a writing training that Rose put together ages ago. It's really lovely. It's all this time, it's lived within the course curriculum of the Global Grant Writing Collective. So what I'm going to do is actually share that with you because we're in no condition to film you your own new training right now. It'll come out later at some point. But for now, that training is excellent and decently similar. So I'm going to wrap it up. You'll get to go hear from Rose. And you'll hear at the very end how she talks about Pen to Polished. It's this amazing writing course that she put together and we supported that I think you're really going to enjoy. So I think the big takeaway, the essence here is basically two things. One, nothing else matters if we don't have our health. So if you feel like you are forcing something, just pause for a moment and be like, is this urgency real? Or is this just, we make up our own deadlines around here. I was like, this isn't even like a hard and fast real grant deadline. Like we made this stuff up and we don't need to kill ourselves. We don't want you to do that either. The second takeaway is that like, it's okay to stop something if it's not working. It's fine. And pivot, adapt, and just like roll with it, have fun. We don't need to take ourselves so seriously, right? And honestly, this has put me in a better mood than like anything has all day. So hope you enjoy a little moment of some real talk around here. Enjoy this training from Rose, and please drop any comments in the YouTube video below to let us know what you think. That's it. Talk to you later.
Hi there, I'm Rose Hedberg, your writing coach, and I'm excited to be here to talk about a new writing training called From Pen to Polished. Learn to write well and say what you mean in your grant applications. Perhaps you're here because you're thinking about writing, you want to become a grant writer, but you have some questions or feelings about writing. Do you ever feel like you have a lack of confidence with writing grant applications? Did you ever receive any formal writing training? Since college anyway? Do you possibly get overwhelmed with new proposals and staring at a blank page? Do you struggle with word or character count restrictions in grant applications? And do you know, is your writing any good? I'm here to tell you the struggle is real with writing. You are not born knowing this stuff. Writing can be quite frustrating. But it can also be something tangible that you could be extremely proud of. So what are some solutions out there if you're learning to write and want to get better at what you do? Well, there's some solutions like the self-taught route, obviously. Aren't we all at some level trying to teach ourselves new skills? But sometimes that route doesn't leave us feeling very confident in the field of learning to write. There's also Grammarly, God bless, we love that app and it's fantastic, a great software, but this doesn't really help you to think through the actual content of your grant proposals. Then there's also the long and painful hours of just struggling to get through writing, and at some level you've accepted that you're a slow writer and you have to work long, late hours because that's what writing demands. If you're thinking, oh, that sounds like me, I'm struggling with those questions, or I've tried those solutions and it doesn't work, here's the good news. Writing is a muscle. It's a skill, and you can definitely learn to write with confidence. Which brings us to today. Again, my name is Rose Hedberg. I am a grant writer and a writing coach, and I teamed up with Learn Grant Writing to bring you a writing training. In this video, we're going to have a sample lesson so you can get a feel for what the writing training looks like. Let's jump in. So today it will be a crash course, and I want to answer the 3 most common questions that I get as a writing coach from grant writers. Question number 1, how do you become a better writer? Question number 2, how do you get the most out of your character count? And question number 3, how do you write persuasively? All right, let's begin question number 1 with that whole idea of how do you become a better writer? Well, with any skill, what do you do if you want to become better? You practice. If you're an athlete, you practice. If you're a chef or learning a new language or math, all of these skills are honed through practice. Writing is no different. If you want to improve, you must practice. But because writing is very psychological, it's an independent skill, and there's more than one right way to be successful, I'll give it to you that it's really difficult to define what practice looks like when you want to become better as a writer. You don't often hear writers say, oh, it's Wednesday night, I gotta go practice my writing. It's just not part of the culture. However, to get better at writing, we have to define what practice looks like. And as a writing coach, I think we need to go one step further. We have to break down that barrier that some people are bringing to the blank page, which is ultimately where you're going to practice. Now let's talk about that barrier, the intimidation that some people bring to the blank page. I believe this really stems from misconceptions around writing. Writing has long been tied to the ideas of the literary world, elevated language, and even though the internet came about, disseminated voices, brought about social media, and many careers in writing, writing ultimately is tied to the idea of being an author. And it's going to set the bar pretty high if you come to the blank page with this level of understanding what writing is. So right now, you got to kick that expectation. You need to get rid of the idea of elevated language and do one thing. Accept yourself as who you are and your role as a writer. Yes, so whether you find the label of writer comfortable or not, it's your job if you're a grant writer. And jobs have tasks that can be learned and skills that can be cultivated. You can practice a growth mindset to help yourself in this process of acceptance. Don't linger on limitation, what you can or can't do. It doesn't matter if you haven't written before or you don't have any formal training after college. Remember that even the capital W writers or the authors have to gear themselves up to do the work that they do. The big difference is they get their work done because they know it's a job. It's a task they have to do. They have to write in order to be productive. So the more you can acknowledge that writing is a role and a task, the more you'll improve in your writing overall, and you can get back to focusing on practice. Next, let's think about becoming a better writer and understanding what good writing is so that you can integrate that into practice. Good writing is 3 simple things. Number 1, good writing is smooth. It's not wordy or conjunctive, it flows. Number 2, writing is clear. You're spitting out what you're trying to say, you're writing exactly what you mean, and there's no confusion. And then number 3, writing is comprehensive. That means it answers all the questions necessary for the reader. Simple, smooth, clear, comprehensive. Now, how can you use these in your practice of becoming a better writer in the field of writing grants? Well, you have to flex these muscles. If you want to build strong skills, you have to build strong practices. And practice in the field of writing means actually writing. I know. And your goal, if you want to get better at writing, is to build stamina through what I think is the most important skill, which is endurance writing. This is key. So endurance writing means that you're buckling in for a set amount of time, 15 minutes, and you are letting your creative brain kick in. and you're hoping that your pen or maybe your fingers on the keyboard can keep up with all that creativity. The better you are at endurance writing, which means you're writing for long stretches of time, the easier it will become to write when you need to. For example, if you have a 60-page grant application, you need to sit down and write for 1 to 2 hours at a time, you'll be prepared for that because you've been practicing. So practicing endurance writing can come from anything. Here's some prompts you might want to consider if you are starting this for the first time. Write about your surroundings. If you're in a coffee shop or outside or your office, start writing about what you see. That way you're not having to draw from too far away. You can focus on the details around you. You might consider finding topics of passion, things that you're truly interested in, history, nature, books, puppies, whatever it is. When you're passionate about something, it shows up in your writing because it's not forced. You could get silly with it. You could write a how-to guide about the mundane aspects of your life. Maybe a how-to guide, how to make coffee at 5 a.m. on a decaffeinated brain. I don't know, something that entertains you but has technical steps, things that you can draw from. Or maybe you want to consider journaling about a noble cause. Write a letter to a friend telling them about a cause you care about and why they should care about it too. These are some of just thousands of prompts that you can even find online, and all of these prompts will help you to start with somewhere familiar so that you can set the clock, settle in, and write without stopping for a set amount of time. This will help you build your stamina and build endurance writing because this is going to help you build those muscles. Lastly, becoming a writer means that you're learning from others. Practice in this field means that you are reading. Read, and read some more. Because when you're reading, you're actually absorbing good writing and inherently practicing what that should look like. So you might want to consider looking up books on how to write or books on writing. You can see linked below that we have a list of the top books and authors you can be reading if you want to learn to write well. You could also consider reading past applications, grant narratives that your organization or an organization you've worked with has written in the past. You can also shoot for the stars, reach out to past grant recipient winners, and just ask if they'd be willing to share their winning grant application so you can see what those narratives look like. The important part is that you are reading anything that you can. The more you understand what good writing sounds like and looks like, the more you'll be able to emulate it when you are writing. So with all of your practicing, those words are going to start to add up. And sometimes these big ideas that you get feel impossible to fit into a certain amount of characters or space. I know it's intimidating when you come to a grant application and you only have a set amount of characters to say exactly what you need to say. And it feels frustrating and kind of sucks that the funder is restricting you in that way. But they're doing it for a reason. If you know your cause, if you know what to say, you should be able to easily spit it out in the amount of space they've given you. But you have to figure out how to do that. So here are some steps to focus your words and get the most out of your character count. Number 1, plain and simple, spit it out. Write a terrible first draft. To fit within a character limit, you first have to have something to limit. So spit it out, know it's going to be terrible, but let those ideas flow. Then you're going to scrap the fluff. That means that you are rereading the question and rereading each sentence. And if the sentence doesn't support answering the question, then you want to delete it. You need to cut your darlings, as we call it in the literary world. And maybe you feel uncomfortable with deleting things because you're afraid that you won't come up with it again. So you can copy and paste that text into a blank document to use for later. But you need to get rid of things that don't support answering your question. Perhaps maybe you've talked about program partners when you really have to be talking about the strategic solution that your organization is going to deliver. Recently, I had a client that only had 250 characters to talk about 6 board members. And we had to restrict talking about each board member into their name, title and role, and credentials, and that's it. So even if we wanted to exaggerate and talk about why their history and background supports them as being a strong board member, that was not the time and place. We had to scrap the fluff and stick to what was important. If everything is feeling tight when you have gotten rid of sentences, then you're going to start by attacking your adjectives and adverbs. Think of those ly words, sufficiently, usually, slowly. These are the words that don't support your sentences. So adjectives describe nouns and adverbs describe verbs. They can be deleted from sentences and sentences will still make sense. So they should be the first to go. Stick with your nouns and verbs. Lastly, I want to propose something a little bit abstract. I want you to read your narrative out loud to a colleague or to a friend. And you're looking for two things when you're doing this. Number one, have you sufficiently answered the question that was asked? And number two, what information stuck out most to your audience, the reader? So maybe I ask Meredith, hey, can you listen as I read a narrative out loud? I'm going to read to Meredith, and then I'm going to ask if she can explain which question she feels I was trying to answer. I might also then ask if she can relay as much information as she remembers from me reading out loud. In this way, I'm going to know where my gaps are and what information either stuck out or needed clarification or didn't come across at all. And this might help me to delete some unnecessary information. For more details on how you can cut out characters when you need to most, check out our linked YouTube video as I go through and rip apart one of my grants that I was over on characters and had to fix on a tight deadline. All of these steps are for fitting those big ideas into small spaces. You can do it. Now let's get into answering the most important question I get. How do you write persuasively? So persuasive writing is using specific techniques to bring people to do or believe something through your writing. And despite negative political connotations, it is a power that can be wielded for good. And there's a whole study of persuasive tools that comes from Aristotle's book called Theory on Civic Discourse. But here I'll just summarize 2,000 years of philosophy into three principles of persuasive writing. First, we have ethos. Ethos is an appeal to character, and in grant writing, that means you are demonstrating that your organization understands the community and can do the work. Then we have logos, an appeal to logic or reason. In grant writing, this means that you are demonstrating a logical solution with measured outcome. And lastly, we have pathos, an appeal to emotion. And in grant writing, this is demonstrating an understanding of the problem and its effect on the community served. In the Pen to Polish course, video 6, we break down each of these concepts into detail, showing you the psychology behind persuasive writing, even providing you examples on how you can appeal to funders in a way that is logical, personable, and full of heart. We even provide you with a formula so that you can plug and chug and create a very powerful why it matters statement. Today, I want to just give you some quick tips that you can use right now to transform your writing to be more persuasive. And those tools are, number one, use your statistics. Using the power of percentages to leave the reader with an impression. You can help them imagine the gap or the need. Use those facts. So draw from reliable sources like .gov websites and .edu and draw out really impactful information and help paint that picture of the gap or the growth that might come from your proposed solution. Next is using quantifiable numbers. That might come from your organization, such as numbers of the past programs and their successful participants or results, such as maybe you had X number of students attend a reading run summer program or X number of supplies were donated to Title I schools. So using those tangible numbers to, again, paint a picture for the reader. Next, you might use objective observation, something I really enjoy as a writer. This is where you're describing something as it is accurately using your senses, so sight, smell, sound, touch, taste, and you are describing without opinion. Sometimes we don't have the right statistics or we haven't collected the quantifiable numbers yet, but we can clearly see the problem. We can report on it. We can use objective observations to create a powerful image and be persuasive about why we need help. So objective observation, again, is reporting without opinion. Lastly, you can use direct quotes to be persuasive. You might draw from community surveys or outreach meetings, and you can use the words of your community and the community served as a really powerful and persuasive tool in your writing. We really expand this idea of objective observations and direct quotes in the Pen to Polish course video 6, where we introduce the craft of storytelling. So let's look at some of these persuasive techniques applied in action. This is an example from a veterinary clinic in Nicaragua serving a very low-income population in San Juan del Sur. They wanted to talk about their measurements for success, and they have written the following narrative. During the second year of operation, we expect to increase our sterilization numbers. Pet owners will be invited to participate from high-risk neighborhoods. Traveling to neighborhoods will increase sterilization numbers. Now, there's nothing mechanically wrong about this text. It's grammatically sound, but it's kind of boring. And it doesn't have the oomph of persuasion that we're looking for. It doesn't have tangibles. There are words like increase and numbers that can be quantified, however, they're not. There are also countable nouns here, such as neighborhoods or pet owners, again, that can be quantified and demonstrate impact, but they're not. There's also some unknowns about this text, such as how are the high-risk neighborhood pet owners going to be invited? And it's not really explained why traveling to neighborhoods will increase the numbers. If you'll remember from the beginning of our training, we talked about if you're not being clear or comprehensive, then it's not good writing. We're not meeting the requirements here. And we're also not persuading the funder to feel confident that we are successful. Good news is we can always edit text. We have something to edit. So let's apply some of those techniques that we talked about today, statistics, facts, quantifiable numbers, and let's define some of those measurements and maybe clear up some of the confusion so we can add some life to this text. This is the edited portion. We've added in here, you can see in the first part, we've defined increase through actual numbers from 1100 to 1500. And this helps the reader to visualize what that jump will look like. We've also clarified how pet owners will be invited through a door-to-door campaign from census data, so we've been very clear. We've then defined how many pet owners will participate, 80%, and based on what data? Last year's projections. In the last sentence, we've clarified why outreach work will increase our numbers. We've even made an appeal to pathos here. Remember, that's an appeal to emotion and something you will talk about in the Pen to Polish course. So this phrase here, otherwise burdened by cost to travel, encourages the reader to connect and empathize with not only the burden of finances for pet owners, but pet owners in a developing country. So appealing to pathos there to create urgency and persuade the funder to believe in our project. So using just a few quick techniques here, statistics and facts and quantifiable numbers, we've whipped up this example, but more importantly, we've given it legs to stand on its own in front of a funder when we're not there to defend it. Whew! Alrighty, that brings us to the end of our crash course today on writing. Virtual high five. Excellent job today following along. You have scored some new knowledge, becoming a better writer. You've learned techniques for fitting ideas into restricted character count, and you have tangible tools that you can use to make your writing more persuasive. Now, if you enjoyed learning with me today and discovering more about how you can become a better writer, we believe that you are going to love the writing training from Pen to Polished. This is a 9-video writing training, and it's going to help you really gain the confidence in your writing, and it's going to encourage you to actually practice writing through prompts, and we also include work that you can benchmark against. I will be your lead instructor for the writing training, and I'm happy to lead you through it. I am a professional writing coach, and I've been helping professionals from all backgrounds across the world to engage their imagination so they can approach future writing tasks with greater confidence. It's one of my joys in life is to help other people write and find that writing is actually really fun. I'm also trained in the Learn Grant Writing methodology, and I've been a freelance grant writer for nonprofits across the world, from Nicaragua to Cambodia and down the East Coast. Most importantly, I geek out about writing, and I'm super excited that you're here. So how does this writing training work? We know that practice makes perfect. Cliche as it sounds, it really does. So in our writing training, you are going to learn by model examples that just like we did today, breaking it down, how you can improve. And we're going to give you prompts. In every part of the course, you will have prompts and blocked out time to actually write because you're practicing endurance writing. You're also going to learn how to write productively. We'll give you steps for that. And you're actually going to have a writing toolkit that can guide your writing practice. So the structure for this writing training is going to be broken up into 2 parts. Videos 2 through 6 are going to be instructional videos, and that's layering the foundation of what is good writing and how do you develop those skills. Videos 7 through 9 are actually going to be case studies, and they're going to feature 2 organizations that will be the basis for you actually creating your own real-world grant-related deliverables. So let's take a sneak peek. In video 2, after you've been introduced to myself and Christina Barr, who is the co-instructor for this course, you're going to get a crash course in the basics of writing. So parts of speech and sentence structure, mastering those basic skills are going to help you handle future writing tasks, and they're going to help you in challenges of character count restrictions. You will know which words can go. Video 3, your writing practice, we're going to take a deep dive into the mindset of why writing is so difficult, expanding on the concepts today. You'll learn how to develop your own writing practice that's tailored to your environment and productivity. We're going to help you get past that idea of staring at the blank page and mastering your mindset. We're going to give you the confidence in your own writing abilities. In video 4, we are going to expand on this idea of what is good writing, and we're going to talk about how it's a soft skill achievable by absolutely anyone. Even if you're coming to grant writing with 0 background in writing or editing, you can learn how to write well and conquer writer's block along the way. Video 5 is going to be a breakdown of the essential tools of persuasive writing, like we talked about today. We're going to expand on ethos, pathos, and logos, the real psychology of those, how you can use them to create urgency in your writing. And we'll even give you a recipe that you can use to mirror in your writing and create that powerful why it matters statement. And rounding out part 1 is video 6, my personal favorite, where we talk about storytelling in grant writing. We bring in that element of creativity because writing is a craft after all. And we show you how storytelling can really be sourced from your organizations, a source from the community served that will help you to connect with funders. We'll even give you 4 copy and paste formulas that you can use for starting your own letter of inquiry. That brings us to part 2, where you'll meet our co-instructor for this course, Ms. Christina Barr, who's amazing. In video 7, Christina explains the importance of case studies and how they are used in your journey to becoming a better writer. She's also going to give you a step-by-step guide to how you can write a sound letter of inquiry. That brings us to video 8. This is going to introduce you to your case studies. You will be meeting and working with 2 organization profiles, and you'll be tasked, yep, you have homework, to actually complete 3 assignments, an LOI, a power prospectus, and 1 grant narrative question. After you've done the homework of the assignments for video 8, the great thing about our course is in video 9, we actually give you examples to benchmark your work by. So you will learn by example, as in video 9, Christina will give you a breakdown of the model answers and how you can mirror those techniques in your own writing. And the completion of this writing training, you are going to come away with a tailored writing practice for high productivity. You'll have writing techniques that you can actually mirror in your grant applications and save you some time. You're going to come away with 5 writing templates, including 1 for an LOI. And if you're completing those assignments, the LOI, power prospectus, and grant narrative question, you will have actual real-world samples that you can use in your grant portfolio. So from pen to polished, this is for you to overcome your fears around not writing well. You're producing portfolio work, and you're emerging with confidence in your own writing skills. If you want to learn with us, learn to write well and say what you mean in grant applications, you can find the link to the course below, and we'd be happy to have you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Drop us a line via email, or better yet, give us a comment below. Thanks, and we look forward to seeing you in the course soon.